evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our MESAD Bulletin. And we shall start with our headlines. Iraqi Special Forces capture new land in eastern Mosul. Frantic rescue underway in Indonesia as quake kills the scores. And moving on to our details, starting with Iraq's crisis. Iraqi Special Forces captured a new neighborhood on Wednesday from the Islamic State group in eastern Mosul. The commander of a joint operations center that oversees the Mosul campaign said in a statement that troops had fully liberated the Al-Ailam neighborhood and raised the Iraqi flag over its buildings. He added that IS militants suffered losses without elaborating. The announcement came hours after an overnight attack carried out by IS militants against Iraqi security forces in the southeastern part of Mosul that inflicted heavy losses. Elsewhere, a wave of bombing attacks hit commercial areas in and around the capital Baghdad, killing at least 17 civilians and wounding 57. On to Syrian profile, several Syrian rebel factions on Wednesday proposed a 5-day ceasefire in the eastern part of the city of Aleppo, so the wounded, sick and other civilians can be evacuated. The proposal came as Syrian government troops and allied militiamen declared they have seized control of 3/4 of the enclave that the opposition controlled since 2012. From another perspective, the offer made no mention of a rebel pullout from Aleppo, but it said the fate of the city is to be negotiated after the humanitarian crisis eases. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov were meeting for talks on Syria in Germany. Additionally, State Sana news agency on Wednesday said Israel launched several surface-to-surface missiles that hit near a military airport west of Damascus, triggering a fire. Sana said the missiles fell within the perimeter of the Meza military airport, the main air base in the Damascus area, but no injuries were reported. On the other hand, Israel had no immediate comment. It's worth mentioning that according to the Syrian government, it was the second such Israeli strike into Syria recently, following 2 missiles fired from Lebanese airspace toward the outskirts of Damascus last week. In Islamabad, a plane belonging to Pakistan's national carrier crashed on Wednesday shortly after takeoff from the country's north with about 40 people on board. According to a senior police officer, the plane crashed in a village near the town of Havilian, located about 75 kilometers northwest from the capital, Islamabad. There were no immediate details on casualties, but Pakistan's Interior Ministry dispatched a team with experts on identifying bodies through DNA tests. Shortly before the crash was confirmed, the spokesman for Pakistan International Airlines said their ATR-42 aircraft carrying around 40 passengers and crew had lost touch with the control tower. And going to illegal immigration profile, Moroccan authorities say 4 migrants have died and 34 have been rescued after their inflatable boat capsized between Morocco and Spain. Moroccan state news agency MAP reported that Morocco's Royal Navy, police and emergency services retrieved the survivors and bodies on Wednesday off the coast of the Mediterranean city of Al Hoceima. The agency also said the migrants were primarily from sub-Saharan Africa and included 5 women. It added that an investigation has been opened into the attempted illegal migration attempt. From another aspect, the rescue came the day after Spanish authorities rescued 64 migrants from 2 boats off the same coast. On the other side of the world, members of German Chancellor Angela Merkel's party voted on Wednesday in favor of scrapping rules that allows the children of immigrants to be dual citizens, a call that was opposed by party leaders and met with a swift rebuke from its partners in government. Until 2 years ago, German-born children of immigrants from outside the European Union or Switzerland had to pick one nationality between ages 18 to 23. but Merkel's current center-left coalition partners, the Social Democrats, insisted on dropping the requirement as part of their price for entering the government after Germany's 2013 election. On to Moscow, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is urging Western allies to maintain diplomatic pressure and sanctions on Russia until it respects the peace agreement in Ukraine. After talks with NATO and Ukraine foreign ministers, Stoltenberg told reporters on Wednesday of a massive increase in ceasefire violations in the conflict-torn east of the former Soviet Republic. He said hundreds of explosions are sometimes reported daily, including many caused by heavy weapons banned under the Minsk peace accords. Stoltenberg also said the international community must keep pressuring Russia to respect its obligations. It's important that economic sanctions be maintained. In Ukraine, 10 people were injured in fighting between supporters of Dynamo Kiev and Turkish team Besiktas around a Champions League game between the teams. Ukrainian police on Wednesday said of the 10, all of whom were described as foreigners, 8 were injured on Tuesday in beatings and 2 were stabbed in clashes near the stadium, which will host the 2018 Champions League final. Police also said none of the 10 agreed to give an official statement. Moreover, some Besiktas fans also clashed with police inside the stadium, but authorities said another larger confrontation nearby was avoided. On to natural crises, a strong earthquake rocked Indonesia's Aceh province early Wednesday, killing nearly 100 people. The army chief in Aceh province said at least 97 died, while 4 people were pulled from the rubble alive. The rescue effort involving thousands of search officials, villagers, soldiers, and police is concentrated on Merudu, a severely affected town in PD Jaya district, near the epicenter, where more than 600 people were injured. The U.S. Geological Survey said the 6.5 magnitude earthquake struck at 5:03 a.m. and was centered about 19 kilometers southeast of Sigli, a town near the northern tip of Aceh, at a depth of 17 kilometers. And moving on to our economic news. Global stock markets rose on Wednesday. France CAC 40 added 0.9% to 4,671, while Germany's DAX was up 1.5% at 10,935. Britain's FTSE 100 rose 1.5% to 6,884. U.S. shares were set to drift slightly higher, with Dow and S&P 500 futures inching up almost 0.1%. Moreover, Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 rose 0.7% to finish at 18,496.69. Australia's S&P ASX 200 added 0.9% to 5,478.10, and the Shanghai Composite added 0.7% to 3,222.24. Meanwhile, benchmark U.S. crude rose 10 cents to $51.03 in electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange, while Brent crude gained 8 cents to $54.01 a barrel in London. And finally, sports news. Men's World Cup ski races cancelled in Canada have been rescheduled for Italy and Norway. The International Ski Federation said the Super G will be held in Santa Caterina, Italy on December 27th, and a downhill will be contested on February 24th in Kvitsjøl, Norway. Both races have been added on to existing race programs. It's worth mentioning that the races were originally scheduled for Lake Louise, Alberta on November 26th and 27th, but were cancelled because of a lack of snow. And before ending our news, let's take another look at the most important headlines for today. Iraqi special forces capture new land in eastern Mosul. Frantic rescue underway in Indonesia as quake kills the scores. And we reach the end of our NISAT bulletin for today. Thank you for joining us and wish you a good night.